Good afternoon to all the participants of Innovative Transport Innovation Forum. I've learned that there were hundreds and hundreds, close to 1,000 participants taking part in this event, which is really impressive. And as Jurgis introduced today, we have a topic, an object of our discussion. It's e-CMR. And well, countries around the world, including EU countries, Eastern Partnership countries, and Eurasian Economic Union, for quite some time are focused on digitalizing their transport and logistic documents, or better to say, information related to the transport and logistics, and taking active steps in making it happen in business to business, as well business to government. And there are many benefits of that: the cost reduction, shorter timings, better risk management, and the like. But when you look at what we have on hands, there's not much result. 99 or well above 90% of all the documents are still used in an analog form or required in analog form, despite even the digitalization efforts. And today, with a respectful panelist, we would like to look at the e-CMR, at where we stand with the digitalization, and what are the key challenges and problems, and what are the directions or guidances how we can improve and streamline this direction. And as we have the panelists from all over the world, Estonia, Lithuania, Ukraine, I think we can get quite a good overview of it. And I'd like to start from the first questions. So could you share the developments in CMR or digital waybill development in your respective countries? And I would like to start from Mr. Farid.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So glad to see you once more, because I was in the morning panel. I'm sorry for being in transport, but still, as a representative of transport sector, I'm using the transport while participating in the conference. So Artūras, thank you very much. I really appreciate for the efforts that you personally and your colleagues are putting into the development of e-CMR and of consignment documents that we use inside of the countries. The thing is that for the last 2 years, Ukraine decided to switch to e-documentation in different spheres of transportation. And one of the things that we did is we allowed to business to use electronic consignment notes, consignment documents while transporting goods inside of the country. But nevertheless, a couple of months later, we decided to analyze the policies that we introduced. And we noted that no one is using it because there is no interoperability between those companies that provide services of e-documentation to the business. And what the government decided to do is to create something that would be like Visa or MasterCard in the sphere of transportation, when where we are the arbiters of the processes that are going on. So we created a central database to which only accredited providers of e-documentation services can join. And by this means, we allow to business to use any type of, any companies as they want to provide them services of e-documentation. But the government is communicating and is in tight collaboration with those providers. And we created interoperable systems that allows those who send the freight, those who transport the freight, and who receive the freight to work in one ecosystem where there is a guarantee of the government that the information will fully switch from one provider to another one. That is the way how we are going to do it with the common type of goods and with those that are under special tax regulation. For example, it's spirits, alcoholic, or for example, some dangerous goods to be transported, or for example, milk production, food, etc. So why we decided to do it simultaneously to joining to e-CMR project by signing the second additional protocol to the convention, because EU for Digital and Artūras personally, they advised us to join to the community of European and Eastern European countries who can share the practices they introduce in their own countries, and in addition to that, to be at the same page as other countries who are implementing such decisions. I would appreciate my colleagues who will participate in this panel as well to describe how they are going, how they are moving with this process, and how Ukraine, as non-EU member but very good partner of EU, can join that processes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Farid. I think this was, your example is an interesting example of government taking very active and leading role in digitalizing the sector. So it's really good. And we had very little time for you to tell this story, but maybe in the other questions you can elaborate even more on this. So, Rišardas, you were involved in actually doing the Digino project on digitalizing CMR across a number of countries. Can you give your perspective?
Yeah, hello, everyone. Are you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So I shortly introduce our Digino e-CMR Proto project. We are very proud that that Lithuanian company Fiteka DI win international tender to e-CMR Proto development. Whole project together with development and testings takes only 4 months. From my point of view, is very very quick. We can do that. What we do, we all countries, all participated countries agrees which kind of standards we are using, and to develop this project we decide to use DLT technology. Does it mean to avoid interoperability difficulties between countries, because this is technology is secure and distributed by themselves from architecture point of view. So a lot of stakeholders participate in our projects, and participate government and business representatives. Does it mean customs, tax authorities, and other organizations? What we this project is ended. Does it mean these are still live? Any country or any participant can connect and test it. Yeah, it is possible. It is possible till end of this year. And another important things, what we do, we share this software, this source code for public usage. Does it mean we welcome to any country on any participants who wants to join to our project can join, because software is open, yes, and they are published on Estonian government site and accessible for everyone. I think this is good potential to join all forces to this project. Shortly, it's all.
Thank you, Rišardas. I think this is another great example of how in a relatively short time, the very many stakeholders from different countries, so it's not just one country, from different countries and from different sectors, including the public and the private, were mobilized and managed to develop the solution, which is now available and can be touched literally and used for the next steps. So thank you, Rišardas. And then we have Lauri from Estonia, and Estonians are seen as front runners in anything digital. So Lauri, can you give your perspective on e-CMR topic and development?
I'm trying to be short, actually, when I'm also representing one of the, let's say, service providers of the digital waybill solution here. We are actually quite far, yes, as you can say, but the usage is still very little. And we can say that we can use on the state level, let's say, or in Estonian level, we can use already today digital waybills, and there is no obstacle. but e-CMR is cross-border traffic. And what we are missing here is this main link with the enforcement agencies or controlling agencies. And somehow these solutions have to be unified, I'm trying to manage shortly, but today in the morning, Dominic was very precise how he explained how far we are on the EU level. And I completely agree with him. It's very good, but to come down to pragmatic level, the digitalization has value only then when the business is having the savings, but the states must have the savings too. And states can have the savings on the resources in that moment when all the information will be digitalized. So when we are considering today's pandemic situation, for example, we would like to have this contactless road transport. But although we have all these digital solutions, we have digital solution in the road transport for the tachograph. We have this dedicated short-range community already, which is coming to check the driver's working time and etc. But somehow in the cabin, we have this community license, we have driver's card, we have driving license. So we have to achieve in a certain moment the situation where all this information is coming from the one channel. On the digitalization, we are still on the paper logic somehow. Digitalization is giving some fruits when we are changing our logic, when we are putting all these control measures already from the starting point or the loading point of the goods. And when we are considering all these packages which are coming, this mobility package, first of all, when we are fighting with some kind of demons all the time in the road transport industry. And it seems that these formalities are sometimes more important than the public health, and some of the regulations in the road transport, it feels to me that the authors of these regulations, they were smoking cannabis when they created that one. Because the thing is so difficult to follow, millions of experts are watching every day this kind of, let's say, new legislative acts and thinking how we can fulfill it. They are experts, but the driver behind the steering wheel, he's not the expert, he's a driver. So we have to do the things that are easing the driver's life, first of all. We cannot miss the target of the digitalization. So because of that, it feels to me that we are very slow in these developments. And I'm this kind of force speaker of these consortia, which can be created on the Baltic level, which are created on the Benelux level. But I'm for that we should have, at least here on the Baltic states, some kind of consortia that we are getting the same understanding about this digitalization, how we can go further, all of us, not all of us somehow separately. In one big kettle, you cannot boil the good soup in one corner only. You have to do that all together, and that is also in the certain message, in the certain way, my message that I'm for that we are creating together this highway to get to the final destination with that digitalization and with a common understanding of it. So I try to be short. But sorry, I can continue endlessly, but I'm happily answering the questions afterwards.
Thank you, Lauri. I feel how deep you are in the topic and how passionate you are about it. And I like a few angles that you took in your comments. One is that when we talk about CMR, we talk about alignment across countries, cross players, because it's not a one-player solution. That's one. It's not just in the country, but across. And another aspect I liked when you said that we should not be thinking from the perspective of analog way of doing business, like digitalize let's have the documents digitally. No, this of course helps, but doesn't solve the problem. Okay, and now let's look into another aspect of our discussion, the challenges. So Edmundas, you lead the association of those progressive transport and logistic players in the field. So from your perspective, what are the key challenges for making e-CMR happen?
Key challenges. Thank you for allowing me always to be on negative side when we are talking about challenges. We are not talking about positive things, but it's okay because I am traditionally the most skeptical man in the world. So let's go in this way. So challenge number one, of course, is power of habits. And Lauri mentioned correctly, if we believe that we will have just transport document digital, it will not change anything in our life. So first of all, talking about e-CMR, this project will fail if we will believe that we did digital road transport document. In reality, platform which was built is platform for multimodal international transport label, for multimodal transport information system exchange. So we should start from this. And of course, challenge number one is alignment between countries, alignment between businesses inside each and every country. We can make digital transport document, but when the driver, which Lauri mentioned so few times, will arrive with digital document to customers' premises, and in customers' office, people will demand for paper document, it will mean nothing has changed. So, first of all, very strong governmental legal support in the field that each country who is willing to have transport documents, transport information digital, will make it legal and allowed to have it digital. On the same step, alignment between countries. And when we talk about alignment between business units inside country, it was exactly excellent example with this e-CMR project when Road Carriers Association, our association Lineca, was actively participating, and on the same time, Transport Innovation Association, which combining very different sources, not only transport companies, but information technology companies, industrial companies together, took active part. So this allowed us to make this happen. On next stage, I really don't believe that European Union will be a good leader aligning this idea between all EU countries. I agree with Lauri, we should be regional and even bilateral. And that's why our association, in this morning, we signed a new memo of understanding between Lithuanian Freight Forwarders Association and Ukrainian Freight Forwarders Association, which a clear aim to make not only road transport, but transport between our countries digital and aligned. And for this, we agreed that both associations will in very close contact with our governmental institutions, work exactly in the same way to building similar standards and to show example to European Union how this can work. And for sure, I believe that in nearest days, or maybe weeks, we will sign similar agreements with our colleagues in Estonia and Latvia. Lauri, I believe we will sign an agreement with you too. In order to have 3 Baltic countries plus on one page, on one screen. Let's talk not on one page anymore, on one screen with this project, and show you good examples and good practices how it works. I strongly believe that other European Union countries and other European countries will join us very soon.
Thank you, Edmundas. Thank you. So it's not just challenges, but the message about important event. Super. And well, I try to take takeaways from what you say. I think this business alignment is important as well, because this is a big change. So it can happen only if players come together, but not try to go different direction. Thank you. Lauri, you explained the developments in Estonia, that the wave bills are digital, but still there's a lot to do. What are the key challenges you see from Estonian perspective?
As I said already, that we shouldn't consider that only from Estonian perspective. And of course, we have to see this future a little bit wider. The main importance is that with the digitalization of the road transport industry, we haven't got yet to the point. And the solutions which are working well and which are reliable also for the users, they are very expensive. We don't have, as the private organization, such a money that to develop all of this alone. And you know, we are building actually the highway. You cannot take the payment for the highway from the first customer. Everybody has to pay. But for that to build the highway, you have to put a lot of resources in. And we, for example, when we started to create the MobiCarnet, also we were so, as to say, blue-eyed. We relied also on the financing of the EU funds and the stuff like that. But now we are with this financing, we are in the court in Finland, for example. And the reason was that in a certain moment, we as the private organization, we built the solution, and in a certain moment, they started to blame us for receiving illegal state aid because we are a private organization. So you can imagine that in these circumstances, when your financer doesn't separate bulldozer from the shovel, in this moment, you're busted actually. And this is the most trickiest question in this digitalization. The solutions, reliable solutions, which are proof for the cybersecurity, all this kind of stuff, which have some standards, which have connections to the state databases. They are very expensive, and it needs support. That's the first of all thing what we have to do. And on the other hand, what we have to achieve from the state side is the access, or let's say, this information which is available to be used by controlling agencies. That is enforcement agencies, controlling agencies, roadside agencies. And of course, everybody in their own permissions. So that means that we have, in such a way, a double coin, what we have to achieve in a certain moment. And these are, in my understanding, these are the biggest obstacles. The lack of the resources, first of all, and in a certain way also the lack of the will to do the things in the right way, to do the things in the digital way. And of course, the understanding what we are doing and why that is useful. It's not only the question of the private business, it's the question pretty much of the competitiveness of the EU. To compare it to the outside world, you know. Or let's say the global trade. And if we cannot cut our, let's say, CO2 quotas and the stuff like that, we will be busted anyhow. But only digital solutions will give to us that opportunity or possibility to reduce our cost and to be more effective. So that's the thing. In my side, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully in this event there are government officials and other stakeholders, and they will take into their heart what you said. And Mr. Farid, Ukraine, you shared the developments and why you do that. What key challenges, obstacles you see in your journey?
Actually, if to talk about the implementation inside of the country, I guess the main obstacle is to collaborate with the taxes office, because when you have specialized groups of goods, it means that you have additional regulation of that, and it is always about the integration between different governmental offices and building up one business process. If you talk about the international implementation of e-CMR, the main obstacles that we see is that not only e-CMR is a document that shall be transmitted into an electronic way and integrated into our governmental systems. The case is that when we are talking about e-CMR, we're talking about transportation, and then business asks us a question: why the permits, for example, for international automobile freight transportation are in paper, but the document that is called CMR is electronic? So why can't you make everything in an electronic way? So just to mention, together with the Baltic Sea Economic Cooperation states, particularly with Turkey and Moldova, we are at the moment developing the system of electronic permits for automotive automobile freight transportation, and we're going to start at the beginning of the next year. So we're trying to do it in an electronic way. CMR is a document of more importance because it is used constantly. So the main task of Ukraine, and I guess of all the participants, is to create the ecosystem of paperless economy and paperless transportation and logistics. So we have our vision on how to do that, but nevertheless, when you have at least 28 member states and additional countries of Eastern Partnership, the rules shall be common, and always someone should be the main who leads the process, who provides the standards, and says that those are the rules how to play on the field. So we're waiting for those rules. We're waiting for those standards. We're ready to implement and integrate any kinds of systems. The main factor is that we want those processes that are external to be similar to those that are internal inside of Ukraine. So it is the question of negotiations and of constant cooperation during the process of development.
Okay, thank you. Well, I see that the topics of alignment, addressing the legal acts locally or regulations, and involving the relevant government institutions are repeating from speaker to speaker. And okay, thank you. Okay, let's.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Artūras. The issue is that when you are the representative of the government, the only thing that the government basically should do is to make legal documents that will regulate the field. So that's why the legal basis is the fundamental basis. So we are hostages, and those who are simultaneously the killers of good processes, because we need to prepare those legal acts, and until they are prepared, no physical processes can start.
Oh, let's be realistic. The environment we live in, including the legal environment, was developed across many years. Yeah, little by little, step by step. And the digital solutions which Rišardas was sharing, or Lauri, they developed recently, and they of course they are not fit with this analog world. So naturally there is a gap to close. Okay. Now talking about the future, and as we have you on the screen now, let's start with you. Looking what needs to be done to streamline this topic, to make it move faster with better result. What are 2 key recommendations you would share from your side? How to speed up this? I know you are government official and
yeah. So to be strict as a government official, so my personal opinion is that all the processes that involve a lot of stakeholders, a lot of parties, should be divided into micro processes. And when talking about e-CMR, when talking about, for example, e-permit or something else, let's try to do it at first at bilateral level. So, for example, Ukraine, Lithuania, Ukraine, Estonia, Ukraine, Latvia, because but try to implement the common standard, for example, that EU for Digital provides us, because it is much more easy to go to common vision when there are 2 sides, but not several ones. So it is the first recommendation. And the second one, so I hope no one from the ministry hears me, is not to be afraid of acting without those legal acts. So let's try to do it in the way of experiments, in any other way, but not wait until higher other way. The revolution and the evolution of the processes will be slowed down.
Okay, thank you. Noted. And then, Lauri, what would be your 2 recommendations for the governments or the wider stakeholders in how to streamline the e-CMR topic?
It's first of all, I said the most of it all, and I agree with Farid that we need standards and we need somehow common understanding in that thing what we are doing, and we have to be able to communicate with each other. And for that reason, I see the great power also in these clusters what we are creating. You know, today also was Heitimering who represented Estonian digital logistics cluster, but and also we have the single window cluster here in Estonia, and we all the service providers, we have the understanding how we have to communicate that information to the other state. But anyhow, we have to do a lot of things in the state level, because our states, they are all using different mechanisms for the controlling agencies and stuff like that. And in these circumstances, we can achieve only something when we are getting to the, let's say, enforcement authorities vehicle on the side of the road. And that can be done only on the state basis. So that needs communication between the states, between the service providers in the different states in that cluster. And then we can achieve something. And I think so. Then the things are starting to develop very fastly, because then I can, for example, exchange the information with the Lithuanian service provider. He shows my information out in Lithuanian territory. I'm showing his information out in Estonian territory, but it has to work as a mobile phone. I don't have to know if I'm the service user who is providing that information to there. My most important thing is to understand that information has got to there, and it's there, and it's controllable. So these are the mechanisms which are starting to move this picture a little bit to that point where it has to be. And first of all, yes, to make this information available to these who are needing that, but not just to push the information to somewhere which it will be probably never used. So just to create the information what has some value. So that is also the thing which is important. We have to do the things for what we have the need.
Thank you, Lauri, for your insight. Rišardas, what are your thoughts on what would you recommend to Lithuanian or any other government on what they need to do to streamline this topic, not just to the government, to the wider society?
Very short recommendation. Start doing. Only if you do something, you can achieve something. Because we have a lot, and I think this is ideology not only this is Europe ideology, yeah, because also like in Digino, like in federated project, everybody understood that we must start do something, living labs, sandboxes, etc. Because if we only talking sometime and we cannot see everything, we cannot touch anything, we sometimes cannot misunderstand each other, yeah? Because the world of words is very complex. So my proposition is start doing, and I am very happy that Lithuanian Association and Ukrainian Association start doing something in real life, yeah? Stop talking, start doing. It's short.
Thank you, Rišardas. And then let's conclude with Edmundas' advice. Edmundas, you are on mute.
Okay. As being last one for conclusions is more than easy. I can just repeat, and this will be recommendations from Farid. Don't wait for worldwide solutions, go for bilateral agreements between countries. This will allow us to start. What Lauri mentioned, yes, would be very good to create in each country digital logistics clusters. And last but not least, repeat words of Rišardas. Start doing and start learning by doing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think we had good discussion with different angles looking at e-CMR topic. I'll just want to, before totally closing, to reiterate on a few topics. So this is not new thing. The developments are happening all over the world. Yeah? And if you look, for example, of what Eurasian Economic Union is doing, there are established groups, there are pilots running. What EU is doing with FT, which is basically whether we want or not, will force us to go digital, and not just to digitalize documents, but to start using the information digitally, not referring to the document. And it will happen relatively soon. 2025, it should go live. It will go live. Yeah, it's actually regulation. We will not escape. And then what Eastern partner countries are doing all together, there are different developments in these 6 Eastern partner countries on a different scale, which shows that it will come. The question for all of us and each of you, where will you be at that time? Will you be just following what is told by the front runners, or you will be among the front runners in this topic? And as we all know from the theory, the ones who start and get into that sooner, they reap the biggest benefits out of that. Yeah. So yeah, these are concluding remarks. So I'd like to thank the panelists for your insights and the discussion, and for the audience for listening.